I have to stick to this block that blocks my style of talking, but I'll try to stay here as much as possible and be loud and clear. I'm going to be talking on how blockchain can transform India and e-governance. And a little bit of background about us. Of course, OiX Global. We have government blockchain cloud. We render a solution for government. We are working in different Asian countries and United States. We are based from USA. To other resources, other technical stacks. Now, what is the limitation? What happens? When people try to each other, they try to limit. Oh, this is my asset. You cannot talk to them. I want to block certain information. I want to block certain assets. Don't want to expose it, right? You don't want to trust outside your system. Any bank which is running any infrastructure, they don't want to share a lot of information with other banks. It's their asset, right? So this technology, the blockchain, empowers you to create a trust system where you don't need to trust anybody and still trust the transactions. Now, blockchain 1.2.3, version 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Blockchain 1 has been about digital currency, as we have seen in the market, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and that has transformed to the next step, which is smart contracts. It evolved from just having the currency to create a smart contracts. You can do more transactions, you can control your transactions, you can put the conditions in the transactions using the smart contract. Now, blockchain 3, we have seen across the world, we're talking about, certain things we cannot do. Why? Because the government is not allowing you. When in India, last year it was all blocked. Exchanges were stopped to do business. Bitcoin was a big no-no. However, blockchain was not a big no-no. Blockchain was yes. So everywhere we listen, that government is a next showstopper or the show builder. We are, or everybody in this world who has something to do with blockchain is waiting from India to United States. What is the stance of government? How are they going to transform? How are they going to change? What stance they're going to take? What's going to be the new law? What's going to be stopping? What's going to be making you move forward? When I'm in India, I'm going to talk about this budget, government budget, and I'm going to talk about how blockchain can be part of that budget. India has been transforming itself. People say that, India is saying no to blockchain, but different government bodies, including Niti Aayog, is also working on blockchain. A lot of certain organizations, departments I know in India is using blockchain already. It's running. And everybody I talk to, I'm not talking to everyone apparently, they are working on blockchain. Now, when we talk about this budget 2019, I see certain points. I went through the budget, speech, and I see what is in there where the blockchain can make its inroad very efficiently and be part of the infrastructure. Benefits management. When we talk about this budget, there have been a slew of announcements. There's going to be free money, pension schemes distributed to the people. That's benefits to the citizens, right? All those things could be taking advantage of blockchain. They can have a lot of power, they can use it. And Digital India Revolution, which is the part of which is going to be, it's only been there since last 5 years. They can still take advantage of the funds which is out there in the stack for the Digital India. They can use blockchain technology as well. RERA and Benami transactions. That's one big target for government to stop the corruption, right? All that technology can be used for Benami properties. You can track which property is owned by who, how their hands are changing for those properties. Those things can take part of this. And banking reforms in the Solmi case. Now we hear about this Vijay Mallya and this guy, Modi, which guy? Nirav Modi, right? These guys have taken the money from the people, country, and they ran away, right? All those assets could be tied to, and let's talk about a little bit about the Nirav Modi case, right? What happened? Some guy sitting at one place, at one desk, was blocking the information, not sharing with nobody, and he was giving all the loans to this person, Vijay Mallya or Nirav Modi, all these guys, right? The information was not exposed. Now think about this, information was kept at 10 different places, just within the bank, because the bank's asset, of course we cannot see it, but let the bank see it, right? So somebody in, say, PNB is sitting in say, Chennai. Somebody is in Mumbai, and that information is exposed. Somebody is just trying to learn that how this person is doing business very well. This branch is thriving. Why this is thriving? So somebody else, just out of competition, is trying to learn the business, and then see, oh, there's a lot of crack in there. This is not the right business, and the information is exposed. So bank itself can use the blockchain within their own data sets and take advantage of this technology to stop the corruption within their own systems, right? Blockchain. I have these soft features, the strong features. So blockchain is universal. Information can be out there. You can limit it, who is exposed this data to. You can have a private blockchain network. You can have a global blockchain network. So you can choose to limit your information scope, who can see what, right? Blockchain is permanent. So once it is out there, you cannot delete it. You cannot change it, It's census driven. If somebody needs to be changed, people has to agree. So if me, 10 people are managing that blockchain stacks, they all have to agree that this information needs to be deleted. If somebody is trying to cheat the system, they have to make those 10 people agree to what needs to be done, change, delete, anything as such, right? Publicly auditable, right? So when government is using it, government has infrastructure like COG, Auditor General, right? They look at the different bodies. They can take the information from one department and look at that. They don't need to wait for somebody to share the data. The data is out there. Again, this can be scope, can be private. Doesn't have to be exposed to everyone. If the data is sensitive, who can see, who cannot see, they can limit that. But they can be exposed to the limited group of people or organizations, department as such. It's non-repudiable, right? You cannot change it. Its proof is there. If you change, the data will get invalidated. And it's a record-keeping repository. It's just like a database. Proof of existence is the key thing, right? When we talk about blockchain, it's all about proof of existence. The data is there. The information has happened. This thing has happened in the past. And we all keep the record of that. That's the basic funda of blockchain. Now think about a blockchain nation, right? This country, or any country as such, how they can evolve to take advantage of blockchain technology and go to the next level, right? Appropriation and reappropriation of funds, right? Once a prime minister of this country said that 15 cents to a dollar is being delivered to the beneficiaries. That person was Rajiv Gandhi, right? We all know that, right? So 15 paisa in this case of country in India. So 15 paisa is being delivered actually, right? So these funds get appropriated, and how they get deappropriated further step level is not being controlled. That's why it happens, right? With the use of technology, with the use of blockchain, you can limit that. And you can ensure, and the government is already doing, they're already sending the funds directly to the bank accounts, which is a very good step. Excuse me, guys. Economical citizen services. We all are citizens of some country, right? There are a lot of citizen services we have: road, electricity, a lot of benefits, insurance, government-aided insurance, a lot of other services out there, right? There's a cost of doing business. Everything has a cost. Nothing is free. With using the right technology, by using the enforcement of how funds are being spent in the right space, you can reduce the cost of services getting rendered, right? So that's economical citizen services. Regulatory enforcement, right? We talked about that Nirav Modi case, Vijay Mallya case. The person is gone, the land, our banks are trying to repurchase the property, trying to get the fund. All those things could be enforced. For example, as I gave the example of Nirav Modi case, the person was not sharing the information. If information is shared and certain data is exposed to RBI also, right? So you have somebody looking over your shoulder and trying to tell you what not to do. So all regulatory laws can be enforced in a much better fashion. That information doesn't have to be shared with everyone, but the limited targeted people who are supposed to see that for your eyes only kind of thing, they can have access to that. Effective democracy. In India, have been saying that, okay, there's an issue with ballot paper. This ballot paper machine EVM thinks is wrong. There's something wrong going with that, right? You can use vote based on blockchain. Government can build a blockchain-based system where nobody can say that the voting has been changed. It doesn't have to be changed. Put on a blockchain. Not everybody needs to see that. Make 4 copies of that. Put it into 4 different places. Use it. It's non-repeatable. Nobody can change that. That allegation goes away with the use of right technology. Now a little more serious. When can government use the blockchain? We say government doesn't use blockchain, government is not using technology, government is slow. When is the right time? What makes them do it? What should be the triggers for them to use the technology? Let's say there's a government department, and they can look into, do multiple parties share data? We have multiple parties out there, actors. When I say actors, not the movie actors, somebody who's doing the job. So, or the departments, right? Do multiple parties share data? Do multiple parties update the data? When you're looking at certain use cases, you're going to ask these questions. Is that those things are true? Is verification required? Can intermediaries be removed? That is the key thing. And then you can say, okay, yes, we can use in certain those use cases, we can use the blockchain. Now, where can government use blockchain? There are so many use cases, but there are always low-hanging fruits where it can be easily deployed, where the benefits are much more cost-effective compared to any other ones. Now, we have certain use cases out there. Voting. I just talked about voting, and it can be used out there to the advantage of people. And licensing an ID. That is a very easy, low-hanging fruit to do that. We already have everything digitized. Even IDs are out there on smartphones these days, right? In India? That's what I got. I don't have an Indian ID here, but then I see other people are using IDs on their phone. I've seen certain apps which are using that, right? They can be put on the blockchain. They can be validated more. Titles management. So lands. It says that around 30% of land in the world, people have no clue who owns them. Even government doesn't know. And there's a lack of tax. If government doesn't know who owns the land, they cannot get paid for the property tax for those lands, right? So there is an incentive to do that. If you do the lands titles management using blockchain, it's easy. It will pay. The technology will pay for itself. The taxes we will get out of those land. I've talked to several departments, who manage land, and they have no clue. Industries department, they have no clue where are their lands. They have no clue. Benefits distribution. Definitely, that 15-cent example is a key thing. You can get a lot of benefit. You can get the maximum dollar of what you spent out there, right? Intra-government payment. That's one big thing. Government moves trillions of dollars or rupees, whatever in different country it may be relevant, and that transactions can be done using blockchain. With a single token transfer, they can change the hand. The money doesn't need to move. That in practically happens in the bank also, but that takes a lot of time. It could take, of course, things have become easier than before. Earlier it could take 4 or 5 days for interstate transfer, which has been, I'm not sure how many days it takes, but I'm sure it's reduced to much less. Now, we say government doesn't use blockchain. Government doesn't use blockchain. Government is slow. They don't know what to do. They're dumb. Actually, why government is not using blockchain? Blockchain was never built for government. That's one big showstopper. As I talked about in the beginning, first it was developed for currency, then moved to the smart contract. But still it's not there. I mean, we all talk about use cases. There are simple use cases, there are complex use cases, right? Complex use cases government has a big, very complex use case. The technology as in normal SDK, the stack available, it needs much more change. It cannot be used as is for government. Government public network lack the performance, confidentiality, and governance capabilities, right? You cannot see government data. You can see certain data, but you cannot see everything. The government needs to protect it. There could be some national security issues. There's a lot of data that cannot be seen by everyone. So it cannot go and use a public network of whatever is available out there, let's say Ethereum network or whatever network may be out there. You just cannot use it just like that. It needs a private blockchain infrastructure. Actually, that's where we come in. We create private stacks for government. Now, smart contracts. We all talk about, oh, put everything on smart contracts, but I'm not sure how many people have done with the smart contracts over here. And if you do, there's a lot of limitation to a smart contract. You just cannot use as it is. It's like a very simple limited parameters out there which you can use, which will definitely not feed the need of government. The government needs a lot of complex, a step over, multiple breakpoints, multiple conditions, time, when I say time, I mean in the different block of time, say 1 month, 2 months, 2 years, the contract needs to step over into multiple conditions with a multiple time stacks. And that limitation is out there. So basically, a smart contract in current form cannot accommodate the need of government as it is now. Today's government needs what? It needs on-demand growth, like population growth, infrastructure. Say when I'm not sure how many people have been in the life cycle of managing the technology. You build the technology to manage it. You build the technology to run it. It takes time. And what happens? There's a time of adoption. So if you pick a technology of any bank or any organization you use, and what happens? It takes a year or two to build the technology, and down the line, 3 years, 4 years, more people jump to the technology. The start becomes slow. The infrastructure becomes slow. It's not very, what I would say, performance is. So it gets slower to use the infrastructure. More people jump onto that, and then the new technology comes in. So you have a bridge to use the existing one and get to the new one. And while you are there, the old technology stack is gone. So on-demand growth needs to be there for government to use the technology as such. Selective sharing of data. As you talk about, the certain could be, for example, say defense chooses to use blockchain, defense contracts. But they don't want that information to be exposed to everyone, right? So who can see what? Top secret or whatever things are out there. Cost is a big issue for everybody. People say, okay, so government, they can do anything. No, government also has a cost. We can't do this because we don't have money. And that's true for everyone, actually. Even our everyday life, we don't have budget. We have all limited resources. So does the government. Government spending us so much, they also need to control the budget. So they need a solution which has a reduced cost and reduced complexity. Government public sector, right? What does it need? It needs to scale existing applications. A speaker before me was saying that things are already there. The digitization has been done. It's there. Now you're talking about something new. Why do we need new thing? When something is already there, it's working, why do we need new? So anything adoption to go for anything new, they have to be using the existing ones. Scale existing apps. Be part of that. Minimize investment, reduce the cost. Maximize existing investments. People have already invested. Government has already invested your money, your tax money into certain infrastructure. If you want them to jump to blockchain or something, there will be added cost to that, right? So ideal situation is you use the existing one, plug something on top of it, and make it work. Security controls, of course, we need to see who can see what with that control. Compliance, of course, government has a lot of compliance. Other organizations have a compliant, banking, financials, all those departments, all the different sectors need to follow compliance. Government oversight. Public sector innovation. Public sector, government public sector, of course. They can take use of identity. I've talked in the past. Health records can go there. Financials can go there. Benefits entitlements. I talked about that in the beginning. Now, what is the current state of government public sector? There have been digitization in certain sectors, but still there's a lot of rooms in government offices which are filled with documents. A lot of physical processes out there. and that adds to delay, which adds to frustration in everybody's life. You want to go get something done at driving office, it takes time, you get frustrated. Or for matter any office you go, if things are not getting rendered within a limited time frame, everybody gets frustrated. Not only you, who is service provider, somebody sitting at the opposite end of you, they also get frustrated, right? They're also human. Threat of fraud. I won't name certain departments I've been working with in India, and there have been people in their organization who have posed a threat to the money. They have moved the money without people knowing what happened to it's a government department, right? So that happens everywhere. Now I'm going to be talking more about a little bit about what we do. So I'm going to be syncing government needs with our solutions. That's the latter part of our presentation. So when we're using OiX, Government Cloud, government can automate the digitization. So we have our custom blockchain solution, which offers certain SDKs. We also changed the smart contract as well. The limitation I was talking about, we have extended the smart contract in its current form to accommodate more complex conditional contracts in there. Now, OiX government solution can transform the citizen experience. It can change for government how they deal with the citizens and extend the money, stretch it much longer. And of course, transaction is secured. Our solution uses land registry, so we have built solutions for government to use land registry. They can go on with certain changes. They can jump on a bandwagon where they can have the land registry solution in a shorter time frame than normal. So registry built on blockchain and smart contracts. So think about, we here in India or anywhere for that matter, somebody takes control of somebody's land and they cannot do nothing much with that because somebody is more powerful than them. And that story is random story people get to hear anyway, right? If you put them on blockchain, if there's some collusion is getting done, somebody goes to the department and changes the document because those documents are physical documents. Those can be changed or can be stolen out of the office. There's no record of what happened to that, right? If you put a copy in multiple places, it's so difficult. It's easy to make a change at one place, but it's difficult to make a change at 4 different places or more. That reduces the risk of fraud, right? Citizen benefits. Again, 15 cents to the dollar story. You can reduce the use of blockchain, can reduce the risk of how money extends, reaches people's pocket. There is conflict about claim value. What can happen is somebody say, okay, let's talk about insurance case. Somebody says, okay, I should be entitled for, say, 2x, or say 2,000 for that. It's just an arbitrary number out there, right? So let's say that 2,000 claim needs to be there, and in the process, something is lost in translation or the transaction, right? The same insurance claim, the valuer, all that process came in there, and things have changed. The numbers are no more same. It doesn't satisfy you. You think that there's some problem with the process. Putting on a blockchain, all the data can be validated, and you will know, and you can see those information. You can see, okay, fine, the process is good. I agree with this. Government treasury. OiX has a government treasury solution. So I was talking about government intra-department transactions, government-to-government transactions. So we have a treasury solution where government can build our solution to build a treasury solution. So we integrate with Reuters, EBS, MarketWire, Swift. People have heard anybody who's doing international transaction, they must have heard of Swift and things like that. It's an organization which render the transaction services. Government pay. Government pays money to people, departments, benefit management, things like those. So it touches everybody's life, right? The money changes hands, the one department needs the money to the other department. So we have a payment solution for government. A smart contract for government, this is the key thing I was talking about. The limitation of a smart contract is there as it is out there. Of course, this is our proprietary technology. We haven't put in the public space. It won't make sense. But we have a smart contract. We have changed the smart contract in its current form, and it can take advantage of the complex whatever complex condition you want to put there, you can take use of that technology. It can scale to a billion of transactions. So when we talk about citizen services, the scaling is the key thing. How many people are going to be using? When we talk about country like India, we have, it's about what, 1.35, 135 crores. That's the number I saw as per 2017 census, right? That's the number out there. So if we're building a solution for citizen, not everybody is going to jump on their services one day, but what happens? Let's say tax time, March. March is crazy time for accountants, banks. The system doesn't work because the system cannot scale. It has not been designed for that. Our solution, our infrastructure takes care of that. We are doing a solution we can scale up as per the need, and you can scale down. So when the need is, you can pay more to get a solution rendered for everyone. When the need is not, scale down. That's infrastructure, a little more technical.